Hello everyone, Slick4Tech here. In today's video we have the Huawei P40 Pro with the Kirin 990 5G processor. In this video I will be playing Android games, 24 of the best Android games on the Google Play Store, and testing them with the FPS counter, which I have, which is Gamebench Pro. Now, before I get started, I wanted to mention a few things. Firstly, as you all know, P40 Pro does not come with the Google Play Store pre-installed, so there is methods to get it. If you want to try one of my methods, that's on my YouTube channel too, you could check that out too, as well as my website slick4tech.com. It's the CPU, monitor, battery monitor, and the RAM usage. Now there is one flaw with this phone which I'm going to mention just before we start this video, and that is simply that if you go to display and brightness and you go to more display settings and you go to full screen display, you'll see there's only a few apps and games which are compatible with the full screen display, and that's simply because not all games have been added to the Huawei Play Store market, or whatever you want to call it. Now let's get started with the actual video. Gamebench Pro. The phone does have to stay connected, unfortunately. There seems to be a bug with this new Gamebench version, so I won't be able to tell you the battery usage information, but the main thing we would be testing and seeing is hopefully the actual performance of the phone. Now, this is the FPS counter here. I'm going to put it in the middle, and hopefully this video would be useful for you guys. So for testing purposes, what we have done is put on max resolution, not in the game settings but in the actual phone settings, and we've also made sure that the setting is on the 120 Hz, if I can find it here. Screen refresh rate is high, which is 90 Hz, sorry, not 120, and resolution is also on high. So getting back to the game, you should be able to see this is Assassin's Creed Identity. And it is running smoothly, but as you can see, it does get some frame drops. Oops. So as you can see, we're on top of a roof right now, and everything is just 30 FPS. ARK Survival Evolved. It's a single player. From what I remember, was always giving 60 FPS on everything, so we're gonna go all the way to epic, and the resolution is gonna be on max. And if you see now, look at that. Some extreme frame drops happening. So this is not playable on the max settings, unfortunately. Asphalt 9. Now Asphalt 9 was a pain to install because the Google Play Store version didn't work. Kept crashing. The Huawei App Store one didn't work either, kept crashing, so I had to download it from Up to Down Market, which gave me the Samsung App Store version, which even this one isn't the latest version, but it works, so that's the most important thing. And it gave me lots of free things too, so. We crashed, it went to 27 FPS. Black Desert Online. They go graphics. You could see we will go for quality, and everything will be set to max, including the frame limit. Should be alright, everything on max. So as you can see, this is max settings, and we're getting 43 to 45 FPS, which is pretty decent, but not as good as a Snapdragon 865 would, which would probably get good 60 FPS. But still pretty smooth, which is good. Most important thing is everything's loading nicely. I don't see any frame drops, so that's a good sign. Getting some frame drops, but nothing too serious. Call of Duty Mobile. Audio and graphics. Frame rate we will set to max. Graphic we'll set to very high. Everything else we'll leave. So CarX Highway, for this one in audio and screen graphics is set to high. As you can see. So let's get started. So for this game you can be running this at 90 FPS, which is very impressive because not many games are 90 FPS optimized for 90 FPS. And as you can see, it is running it perfectly smooth with little to no frame drops whatsoever. This is Marvel Contest of Champions. So as you can see, we're getting 30 FPS, no frame drops, and it seems to be limited to 30, so Cyber Hunter. Go to settings, graphics. We're gonna set it on insane FPS, high resolution, and best graphics. So as you can see, we are limited to 60 FPS, so that's a shame. They haven't optimized this for the P40 Pro yet. So what we're going to specifically do in this isn't much. We're just going to find a car and then just drive around, because that's the best thing to do to test out the performance. As you can see, we're getting a smooth 60 FPS. The CPU temperature hasn't gone above 51 degrees, which is also good because that means it's not going to get hot while you're playing this game, even on insane graphics, so really well optimized. Moving on. Darkness Rises. Ultra, everything set. Close. PvE. Adventure. Start. So it's a good sign so far. I have a feeling that this game will be running at 90 FPS. Yes, that's perfect. So we are getting some frame drops. It's not going to be easy playing max settings. At 90 FPS too, so it's very well made. Cutscenes, it does drop. You see some frame drops to 85. But so far it's running smooth. Oh, we got some frame drops. 70 FPS. So the next game we're testing is Gangster Vegas 4. So we are limited to 30 FPS for this game. So at the moment, when a phone manufacturer advertises their phone to have a high refresh rate display, there's not that many games which you could actually play. We are getting some frame drops though, which is quite surprising. But still, overall, seems to be doing pretty decent. So it seems to be doing decently. Gear.Club, now this is my favorite racing game. There is no graphic settings for this game either, so they haven't put a frame limiter on this game, which is a very good sign. At about 86 FPS. Unfortunately, gotta say the phone's running quite hot. 55 degrees, but it makes sense. Running perfectly smooth right now. This refresh rate is insane for racing games especially. You might not notice it on the video since the video is actually filmed in 30 FPS. But 90 FPS, wow. So we are getting frame drops to 76, 75, just like Darkness Rises. But it's still smooth and there is no visible lag. GTA San Andreas. So display setup, we're gonna go visual effects, max, resolution, max, draw distance, maximum, detailed car reflections. We're gonna go everything max settings. That's alright. So 30 FPS, perfectly smooth. Haven't noticed any frame lag. Temperatures are here. You could see it's running cooler than Gear.Club. Nicely. The draw distance is set on maximum and still it's showing 30 FPS, so this game is going to be completely playable. Hokai Impact third. So settings in video, we're gonna go custom, and high FPS in combat is set to 60 FPS, out of combat 60, so you can't seem to increase it any higher unfortunately. It said we're limited to 60, but it seems to be 90 FPS, which is great. Hokai Impact third is We got some frame drops, 80 FPS, so it's not steady as we thought it's gonna be. Special ability, it dropped to 74 FPS. Cutscenes are showing 72 FPS. So that's unfortunate. We did get lots of frame drops. But still, Infinity Ops is the next game. Before we get started, I'm gonna go to graphics and set everything to the maximum, which is high, ultra, ultra, and ultra. Just to see how it handles max settings. So the phone is already heating up, going up slowly. Probably gonna see a good 58 degrees. Good thing is that we are seeing 90 FPS and it is staying there quite often. So Infinity Ops is another game which we could play at 90 FPS. We got Injustice 2 stuck at 30 FPS. Jurassic Survival Island. So as you can see for this game, it is running 90 FPS, which is a great sign. And is very popular actually on the Google Play Store. ShadowGun Legend. Settings, graphics, we're gonna go on ultra high, going to 90 FPS, which is a great sign. Which means it's compatible with the Huawei P40 Pro's 90 FPS thing, display. As you can see, look at that. Oh, frame drops. We had such a huge amount of lag because it dropped to 44 FPS. If you put on auto, when it detects that the phone is heating up or anything like that, it would lower it to 30 FPS, so it's better to just set it to 60 FPS if you want to be able to play this at 90. But unfortunately this game does have a lot of lag, and the only way to fix that is lowering the screen resolution. Mad out to Big City Online, very high max, but we're gonna have to go to here. FPS we're gonna set to 60. We're at 67, so it is unlocked. So as you can see, our FPS counter is mainly at 60 FPS. We're barely getting any drops under, which is a great sign for the Kirin 990. Since on most phones you would see this drop to about 45 FPS. Now that here there's not that many things to load up, we're at 83 FPS. 57 FPS, we got some kind of frame drop right now. And let's try the ragdoll as well. Mario Kart. So as you can see, we're getting 90 FPS with no frame drops, and it's as expected, since the Kirin 990 should handle a game which is supposed to be compatible with even weak performance phones. Modern Strike Online is the next game I have. High, and we're gonna leave the FPS meter on to just in case. We're getting frame drops already, so. Need for Speed, no limits. We are limited to 30 FPS, so no 60 FPS for you for this game. Until a further update maybe might fix that. But still, it's running perfectly smooth on 30 FPS and the phone is cool as well. Moving on is Payback 2. Texture quality is also 90 FPS, so that's a good thing. Pubg Mobile. Okay, so smooth and extreme. That should be better. So for this game, unfortunately, it seems that we're stuck at 60 FPS. There's no 90 FPS option yet for Pubg Mobile. Hopefully they'll bring it soon. Next game we have is Rebel Racing. So as you can see, we're limited to 30 FPS. It's unfortunately not the best game to play on the Huawei P40 Pro. ShadowGun War Games. FPS limit is set to 60. Graphic details I set to ultra high. As you can see, we are showing 90 FPS, but mostly it's at 80 FPS, but now it's back at 90, so that's a good sign. So we dropped to 79 FPS, which isn't the best, but it's doing pretty well.
Locked and loaded.
For the Kirin 995G, I think it's impressive that most games can be run at a solid 60 FPS. The ones which are unlocked at 60 FPS can be run at 90 FPS, so thanks to Huawei, I'm impressed. Anyways, have a great day guys, and hope you liked this video. Don't forget to comment below and subscribe if you can, since this is a new channel.